Guess I'll call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Any interest in making a motion to approve our agenda? There's two things I'd like to pull from the agenda right now. Action items. We had a discussion at personnel committee meeting yesterday, but 9 and 10. 9 and 10 be taken out of the action. Everybody okay with that?
These are just upgrading from a 0.95 to 1.0, right?
That was one of the actions. Yeah. And the other one is to create 2 lead positions.
Why are we pulling them?
No, it wasn't one through HR. The one thing, and we need to have more discussion on the structure of all that.
I understand that the number 10, consider increasing the FTE of one child support officer from 0.95 to 1. It is at 1, it's just making that a permanent change.
Yeah,
Right enough.
I don't know that. I guess that it was never ran through. That's not what was explained in the HR.
So if we pull this, it's okay to wait until next meeting?
That's fine.
there's more information. I know Mr. Burns and I had the opportunity to, all it is to make it continual, not take it away at the end. Number 10 is the one I'm seeking. You want to wait a week?
That's fine.
Okay, everybody's okay with that? Pulling 9 and 10. So, in that case, I'm making a motion to approve the agenda with the exclusion of action items 9 and 10. Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to exclude 9 and 10. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. All right. How about the previous board minutes? Anybody want to make a motion? Second. Okay, got a motion and a second, so. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Good. Public comment. All right, I guess there's none, so we'll move on. The 9:31, that ain't gonna happen yet, neither is the 10, so we'll go on to the consent agenda. Somebody want to make a motion to go with that or change it? Like there's 4 items. I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. To approve the consent agenda, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed. Those 4 are passed. Action item. Consider approving the purchase of a 32-foot scissors lift for the county highway department. Morning, Brian.
Morning. Yeah, so this first item is, so at our new shop, we have some high ceilings in the mechanics area and the vehicle storage area. Within that area, there's some HVAC equipment up on the up hung from the roofs, so we can't get at filters, replace belts, or do any maintenance of the equipment without having some type of means of getting up there to that height. And currently, there's still been a scissors lift that's been sitting at our shop since construction. That's going to be taken out of there soon. Some will no longer have access to get up to any of that higher up equipment, so we'd no longer be able to replace filters or anything without either purchasing or renting a scissors lift. We looked at what's needed for height, what it costs to rent a lift, getting it a couple times a year to hauling it over from La Crosse and back. And economically, we feel the best option is to have the county purchase a scissors lift. Looking at used lifts, we think $10,000 plus the shipping cost should get us a decent used one that will meet us all of our needs. So that is the recommendation. We don't have a specific one picked out or a quote from anyone. They come available at different times around the nation. So
Cost.
I believe the last we checked was a few $100. And then you have to haul it back and forth each way. So you have, 3-4 hours of man hours plus the cost of that lift rental. So it'll end up being, about $1,000 a time, a couple times a year. I shouldn't say $1,000. If you factor out the travel, our labor rate and stuff with that moving it around and getting it, and then we're on their availability versus having it accessible. So I mean, we could it would take several years to equal $10,000 worth of cost for it to rent versus purchase, but in the long run, purchasing is the better way.
Your maintenance guy do all the changing of the filters in, or do we have somebody
Yep.
else coming?
No, we would do everything that way.
You guys do all that work yourself?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, but either our highway department staff or building maintenance. Building maintenance has done some of that stuff and keeping an eye on things with other buildings and stuff too. So, and they've indicated that they'd do some of that maintenance if we have the equipment to get them up there. So, we can definitely rent stuff for the time being and purchase in the future if we want to go that route as well. This isn't absolute must. We need to do it now.
This is something we can load up and haul it over to Spring Grove. Is it there to fix shit up on the ceilings or Houston or wherever we need to go with it?
Yep, can definitely move it around.
How often will you need to fix things in the ceilings in Spring Grove or Houston? And does it have to be a scissor lift? I know there's local companies that have boom trucks.
Yep, there's other types of lifts. So yeah, so it doesn't need to be a scissors lift. Just anything that can get us up to that 30 foot of height is what we need. So
I think you should look around and check out all our options.
One that's not in the budget yet, is it?
it is not.
Say it's $100 some dollars or hundreds of dollars to rent one 2-3 times a year.
It's a couple $100 to rent is the number that I was told about 6 months ago. And then we'd have to go and, pick it up in La Crosse, bring it back, use it, and then go bring it back there. So you spend that, 3 man hours, back and forth, but trucking that around. So it's not a huge expense to rent. But over time, when you start looking at, several years or more, it's like I said, this could definitely be delayed till a future time. For the time being, we can just, rent as needed and budget it in a future year.
Think with that information on the purchase. It's time. Further study.
We need to do a motion or we need to,
That's a move.
no, but I'm asking, do we need to do a motion or?
It's an action item, so that's how I'm looking at it.
Do it, actually.
You could just have a general consensus to look at other options and have it brought back to the table if you wanted.
Well, he made a motion to reject
At this time.
the purchase of this. I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. Reject the 32-foot scissor lift. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carries. Next one, consider approving the proposal for Bolton and Mink to design and inspect airport hangars taxi lane construction project.
So we have a proposal from Bolton and Mink, which is our airport consultant, to design up and do the inspection for the airport taxi lane construction for the hangar or for the future hangar locations. So this that 7.93 acres that was purchased earlier. So we have a quote that we, if we want to move forward to allow that land to be able to be built for hangars, the first step is to get the pavement out there, the taxi lanes to that hangar area. And then in the future, it can be either county built hangars or privately built on land that county leases. Total cost is $40,000 for the design and construction administration, $39,000 for construction administration dealing with the inspection stuff. So a total cost of $79,000. County shares 5% of that, so $3,950 would be the county's cost for this portion of the project. And then once this is built, anticipated timeline would be the in late summer, early fall of 2023. So then that land will be available for hangar construction anytime after that.
So this percentage is 90 and 5, that's concrete.
Yep, so that is the split. So FAA will pay 90%. State picks up half the local share, which is at 5%. MnDOT Aeronautics and 5% county. So yes. The formal agreement with those agencies doesn't take place until later, but that is the split.
And the 90% that's comes out of the money that we've already got back bankrolled as far as.
That comes out of the FAA entitlement funds.
Well, we've been talking, I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Bolton and Mink for this project.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the contract with Bolton and Mink. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed. Motion carries.
One thing I would
One
like to,
question on that, Brian. This is for the construction of not only the taxiway, but the lanes between to get you to the hangar areas.
this will get you all the way to the hangar areas for the front 2 rows of hangars.
Brought up in our land use meeting this morning too, that good chunk of this land is being farmed and that we probably won't rent it out this year because crops might get destroyed in August or whatever, so it'd be better off not to even let it be farmed, just
Yeah, otherwise if you farm at half that cost gets spent on taxes. We'll avoid the future year's taxes as well at that point.
Okay, number 3, consider approving a resolution number 2256. Resolution by the Board of Commissioners of Houston County to support the city of Caledonia pursuit of an active transportation infrastructure funding for pedestrian safety improvements.
Yep. So the city of Caledonia is looking at applying for an active transportation grant with through the state to install 6 rapid rectangular flashing beacons. So our RFBs at some crosswalks in the city of Caledonia. Being that they are under 5,000 in population, the city needs to have county pass a resolution of support, and we have some responsibilities to help the city along with this funding source to make sure they follow the appropriate state laws and requirements. So this resolution is required to be passed by the county. In addition to that, 2 of the crosswalk locations are on our county stated highway 3 through Caledonia, one down by the elementary school, one up by the intersection by City Hall, LC's area. So we'll need to have an additional future agreement with the city on those 2 locations to detail out responsibilities on cost for the design and future maintenance of those. But the first part is to pass a resolution that can apply for the funds and see if they get funded or selected for the grant. And we do have the city here if anyone has any questions directly for the city.
Where all are the 6? Is it 6 intersections or 6 beacons and the 3 intersections?
Six intersections. So one of them is, well, I guess you know the exact names.
Come forward.
Come on.
That way everybody can hear you when you're on.
I can't read the little letters on here, but I have them all. So
Casey, City of Caledonia Public Works. Our 6 locations, the one at City Hall is the intersection of Pine and Main Street. The other county related one would be the intersection of Sprague and Main, at the front entrance to the elementary. That was one that was supposed to have been included in a project a few years ago, but didn't end up getting done, so. Then the other one would be on the back side of the elementary at West Washington and Sprague. And then we've got one closer to St. Mary's School for South Pine and East South Street. And then at St. John's School crossing North Marshall and Taft. And then the last one being at the end of North Kingston Street as a connection to the trailway coming around town at the North Park.
So those don't show on our map here.
No, it's just the 4 that go.
I do have a map.
That's right. Highlight that, go through that grid.
Just yellow dots.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
This is basically a pass through for the county or explain to you, but you afford it.
Correct, yep,
Costs borne by city.
yep, yeah, this is, a great opportunity for us to hopefully get some funds out of the state to put these things in. They are areas that were identified years ago as part of the Safe Routes to School program as well, that would definitely benefit from these flashing beacons. We get several complaints about the majority of these intersections are, close calls with traffic incidents and whatnot.
Is there currently one in front of the elementary school?
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah,
It's not
there
right.
is, but it's different. This would be a little different.
On the Main Street side of Caledonia Elementary,
Yeah,
unless-
I call in our side.
there is
county.
The dynamic,
pedestals, I guess.
the dynamic speed sign
Yeah.
is in that location. They don't have.
Yeah.
So this would be the push button to activate flashing lights at the
Like they have on
crosswalk.
Crest.
The, you mentioned as far as cost. So to keep consistent with the other cities, what my recommendation if they get funded would be to have an agreement for the 2 crosswalks on Main Street, which would be our CSA 3. And what we've done on the Crescent is that the county's picked up some of the costs for the design of those units and actually some installation costs, of which this case will be covered by the grant. And in return, the city takes on all responsibility for future operation and maintenance of those. So I would recommend that we have a similar agreement with Caledonia for those 2. Then the other 4 crossings would be 100% city. So there could be a little bit of county cost, but it should be pretty minor.
But that's not in this resolution. It's
This
just a
resolution is
resolution
just to apply for the
to
money.
apply for.
Yeah.
When we get. Split the cost. Is that understood?
Questions?
No, Caledonia being in District 3, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it, I guess. Got a
Just
motion.
another question.
Sure.
I see there's one down by the community center too.
Yep, that would be the North Kingston one that will help us connect to the trailway that goes up along Highway 44.
Oh, okay.
I guess, going on, then. I see where it's here, not on Kingston Street. Do we have much traffic of pedestrians crossing there by the St. John's or not? Are we not?
Yeah, I think the one at the St. John's School, my understanding was a lot of the walking kids having conflict with cars dropping parents off and whatnot. It's pretty busy, morning and afternoons there.
Okay, and then the other one down by St. Mary's is. Over here someplace, so.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? You got a motion and a second to approve this resolution to go for that money? All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 4, consider approving the participation in the funding agreement with Selco. Yes.
Morning, Commissioners. I was forwarded the base document as far as the terms and conditions for the participation and support of between the county and Selco. And for that document currently is being circulated by
So,
Selco for the 2 other member municipalities. And so it's before you today for your consideration and approval.
this is the same as we had been talking about. It's the $5,000 per year per library for the next 3 years. Plus the 2% increase on the appropriation from the county to the Selco. But the money, will go the $30,000 a year will go to Selco and they'll distribute the $1,000 to each of the libraries. And then the libraries themselves make a determination of the split of the county appropriation, the percentages to each of the libraries. So it's based on what we'd already discussed.
Somebody want to make a motion then?
Since I was involved with it, I'll make a motion to approve the Selco contract.
Okay,
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I will inform Selco. And thank you, Commissioners.
Well, you might as well stay there. You're next on the next one too. Consider setting the 2023 county attorney salary at $124,425.60.
So that amount represents a 3% increase over the 2022 salary amount. This was proposed by County Attorney Yant. His letter was attached in your packet. And it's before you for consideration. Please keep in mind the non-represented wage grid has been used as a guide for setting elected official salaries. It is not a contractual arrangement. Mr. Yant would be eligible for a step should he wish to proceed that way in the board consider it. He is not. His letter reflects simply the cost of living adjustment.
Motion to approve that or?
So moved.
okay.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve Yant's salary. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider setting the audit treasurer January salary at $93,683.20.
Commissioners, the auditor treasurer's proposed salary represents a step movement on the equivalency of a step movement on the represented wage grid for 2023, which also has a 3% COLA.
Somebody got any questions or want to approve that?
And I would add that that also is acceptable by the auditor treasurer, Treyas.
Make the motion to set the salary at 93,683.20.
Second,
Okay, we got a motion and a second to accept the treasurer's annual salary. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider canceling the sentence of serve contract.
That's tough.
Well, I don't know what we're gonna do, because I talked to the Fair Board and they're still don't know what they can do or what they can help out with. So I don't know what that. We pretty much found out Fillmore County doesn't want us to help out.
They. Their program, they use, they have some state inmates that work in their STS program, so. The question is not, it's a good program. If it gets utilized, the problem is it's not being utilized.
Did you ever talk to a judge? You said, what is she, what's her feeling?
My thoughts on her interpretation, but I think she thinks it's a good program. To a certain degree, it has to be presented to her to be put into their sentencing. If it's not presented, she does, she's limited on what she can do, or what the judge can do, not necessarily she, but what the judge can do. And current sentencing guidelines and whatnot, you look at our current roster, you take Winona out of there, and we got one person. There's no availability.
we ain't got the population base to utilize it.
I mean, if you guys, when we were up at the AMC convention, you start talking about jails with some of these bigger counties, and heck, they're overrun. They don't have a place to put the prisoners. Down here, we only have one prisoner in our jail. We should consider ourselves lucky, I guess, as far as that concerned, but
From a strictly budgetary, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'll go ahead.
From a strictly budgetary. Decision, it doesn't make sense to spend 78,000 on a year contract. On something that our hours have dropped dramatically. And we need to consider. Our loss of revenue when Winona County contract expires. And this is one thing that can help offset the revenue loss. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't start it up again if all of a sudden we see a need or whatever. But
Fact is that we have the ability to use prisoners within the jail,
to do
laundry, kitchen work,
right, that'll still go on.
and that goes on.
I agree with the budgetary comment that, it doesn't add up to have that. Along that line though, if we don't have an SDS person doing some of the stuff at fairgrounds, where does that budgeted money come from? Who would be doing that type of work? I did hear that there's a lot of work done by the SDS individuals, so. Except the person's running it, he's out there. So we're paying that kind of money for a supervisor doing that type of work. Just.
Yeah, that's another thing, like you said, he does a lot of maintenance work and he does fairgrounds, he does here, he does work around the building, I think, mowing, trimming. So are we gonna have to hire another maintenance man if we drop this?
But if we do, is it a
fair?
full-time person or is it a 67-day person during the summer?
That's a good question. Maybe the fair board would be interested in paying part of this guy's salary or something. How you-
That could be a separate discussion on hiring somebody. To do this work. It's not gonna be taken care of, or not gonna be done, but. I think we just need to make a decision on the contract with STS.
Whether or not he's there to help, whether or not STS is there to help the fairgrounds isn't really our responsibility. I mean, it's nice that he's there. I mean, cemeteries, state park, county campus, fairgrounds.
And then with the new highway shop, there'd be a little more maintenance too down the road, I suppose.
Hopefully the best meeting.
Yeah. You know, how that goes.
So,
Well, I mean, what would it cost us to keep it going till June? Carol, you got any idea?
Yeah, what-
$19,000, half of the 38,000.
How much?
19,000. Or excuse me, it's 38,000. I was gonna go a quarter.
But the thing is, we took it out of the budget already.
It's not in the
so-
budget now.
So we'd have to have a motion to put it back in, at 38,000 that go till June, correct?
When you're not getting very many hours. Other than the person that's being paid to oversee. But there's nobody to oversee, what's the,
Don't sound like there's gonna be any more people in jail than there is today, so.
we don't know what that's gonna happen, but
I'll make a motion. To give 30-day notice of cancellation. Best guess.
second,
This does not reflect. My opinion, and I'm sure you guys too. But work that Craig has done over the years, he's done a good job. And it's not nothing against him.
this is where you got a population.
it's strictly a business decision for the county.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to not fund the sentence of serve,
30-day notice.
30-day notice. All in favor, say aye. Nope. So we had 3 ayes, 1 opposed. So the motion carries.
You
Are
want
you opposed, Greg?
you just didn't call for it, that's a. That's fine.
Next item.
All right, now we're on.
It is just past 9:30.
What do we got left here?
Stormwater prevention.
And that's more discussion.
Well, number 11 is the only one we got left that I can see, right? No, we gotta talk to number 8. Okay, should we go into the 9:30 now?
So we should, huh, Brian? I mean, they're.
Okay, let's do that. And we're at 9, public hearing on stormwater pollution prevention program.
So I do have some stuff I could pull up on the computer if you want, but I'm gonna try to go without it to start. So part of our MS4 permit with which is the municipal storm water pollution prevention program that we are in for the La Crescent area. So because that is from a community of population of 50,000 or more, because it counts in the whole La Crescent MPO area. We have some requirements, and part of that requires public education and outreach. Part of it is public participation and involvement. And one of the requirements that we have a public input opportunity meeting annually. So typically that's been done in the past jointly with the city of La Crescent. We've had some years where it's done just by the county by ourselves at a county board meeting. So it's worked, I think, a little bit better by doing it just at a county board meeting instead of jointly. A lot of times with the city of La Crescent, we don't get notified of when it's going to happen until after the fact, and it's just easier for us to control it. So over the last year, we've had some educational information available on the county's website on some different stormwater management and quality stuff. There's been some information out on the Houston County Recycler. There's been some BMP material provided with anyone that gets permits for pollution prevention stuff. And then there's a six grade environmental day that takes place every year to try to get the younger kids be aware of different environmental stuff. On the public participation and involvement side, we had this opportunity today for the public to chime in on stuff. They have the environmental services has the household hazardous waste collection throughout the year. So this year there was 75 residents that dropped off waste during the household hazardous waste events. There's 2 of them, one on La Crescent, one in Houston. 138 residents dropped off paint, and then there was 6,700 light bulbs that were collected during the fluorescent bulb collection. So quite a bit of activity that took place in the county. On top of that, county staff has inspected 36 35 outlets, 143 inlets, 26 manholes and 3 stormwater ponds on this last year. So we inspect all the storm sewer system within the county infrastructure within the Crescent area. And then we've also tried to reduce our salt and sand input on the roadways within the Crescent. So as we get into the earlier months of the winter or the later months, when that weather's a little bit warmer, you have more sun beating on the roadway. Trying to avoid using sand and using salt only at that time to try to keep sediment out of the storm sewer system. One of the things with Pine Creek, it's impaired for suspended solids. So anything we can do to reduce sediment in the storm sewer system helps the impairment of Pine Creek get reduced. So we're not allowed to increase our sand usage in La Crescent. So with that, I guess that's kind of the, and we've also had staff take some smart salting training courses here over the last year. And again, a requirement on trying to help train the staff on how to minimize all of our impact to the environment. So, so I guess that's the basics of what I wanted to go over today, but wanted to provide the board members and anyone from the public an opportunity to chime in on any questions, concerns that anyone else has on what we're doing in the MS4 area.
Is this just La Crescent that we're talking about?
This is just La Crescent Township. Just that area. Yes, it does not impact the rest of the county. It's just the metropolitan area that is in this MS4 and that has this
And it's
report.
because some of their storm sewer dumps into the bank.
It is a federal law for any municipality or any MPO area, $50,000 population or greater. And the 50,000. But La Crescent is part of the La Crescent, La Crosse, Pullman, Alaska, that whole MPO area. They all get lumped together into one community as far as MS4 permitting is concerned. So that's why La Crescent is in it, is because it's part of that greater La Crosse community.
So
So
you mentioned sand as far as getting into the inlets running through the outfall. Is there a limitation on how much sand the Crescent and the county can use?
we are not allowed to increase our usage. So
Keep a record of how much you put.
so yeah, so we do have our historic record of what we use. So yeah, so we're not allowed to increase our historic average essentially. And I don't know what that exact tonnage is. La Crescent has gone to purely straight salt as a means to try to clean up their storm sewer system, which that shifts from sand suspended solids into a chlorides issue, which chlorides is more of an issue with lakes than what it is for rivers, but that'll be a future issue, an impairment issue that's starting to happen in Twin Cities areas that have much more lakes and ponds. We don't have that, so our focus right now is really more so on the sand than what it is on the salt. And then there's all the other type of wastes that get dropped off at the drop sites. We're not allowed to have oils be dumped onto the ground and all the other stuff. Keeping the covers on dumpsters and keeping that any type of stormwater runoff out of any type of waste material.
This is a federal form requirement that we do. I used to do that when I was township. It's just keeping trackers.
Well, it should be noted too that Dave Walter and Dan from Soil and Water did a study test for chloride test where they're in certain spots of the drainage area. And they both came up negative.
Yep.
So the test you're talking about, the check soil around the outfall?
Entry points into the creeks.
Yep, so it was in Pine Creek last winter, so they checked them during the winter months. I believe they did it 4 times. Trying to see where the chloride levels were to make sure that they were well below the maximum threshold. And essentially came down, yeah, they came in very minimal chlorides, so. Which, well, that's what we'd expect, being that it's in a stream that the water's flowing through, so.
I'm assuming a lot of the crescents outfall also goes down to.
It-
Blue Lake.
Into Blue Lake and out into the Mississippi and down to the Gulf, so.
This is only because some of it dumps in the pipe.
Pine Creek is the impaired waters, so that's where the.
That's why they
testing
put
is.
up, yes, it's part of Whitlack.
Okay. This program doesn't actually cost the county any money, it's just a requirement of it.
Does it cost us? Minimal. I mean, there's some time and some efforts that we do, but I mean, it's
Put it
not,
together.
A long form.
a lot of reporting, a lot of. Hoops to jump through, some ordinances that the county has changed. There's some more stuff that we should be. It needs to keep evolving, getting better to help improve. Improve the stormwater quality runoff, but we're getting there. Some of the stuff, there's some requirements that we have that gets put into place. That really doesn't apply a whole lot because it's, our area is really limited to our right of way because jurisdiction and City of La Crescent is or City of La Crescent's MS4 permit. So there's some kind of overlapping and some stuff that even though it applies to us, we go to the city and say, you guys deal with this issue, but then they do the enforcement side. So.
Anything else? Well, you're gonna have to start putting bags at the bottom of all our. Catch the same.
And I don't know if anyone with the public's on or here.
I guess, nobody got any questions? I guess, what do we need? Anything from us or just
No.
tell us about it?
Nope, just needed to inform you and provide the opportunity. So. That should
Sounds
be it.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Now we'll go to action item number 8. I think that would include. Consider approving the purchase of a new case management software to replace the MCAPS. Sam and.
Good morning.
Morning, we're here, I think back in August 23rd, we had the board ratify an extension for another 3 years of our MCAPS contract. What MCAPS is, it's our law management, everything software. I understand about 15% of it, and Julie understands 115%. And so anyway.
You're the one that works on.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Just tell me you can't do that. And so anyway, where I'm going with this is there had been we've had that software for what, 19 years?
I want to say it was 98, I think, when they first went to MCAP. So we've had the same system for
Ever.
a long time.
And so there has been a long promise of update to that software that Winona County was sort of the point person. One of their staff members was the attorneys over there, assistant county attorneys, a point person on it. Well, anyway, August, get back to that, we had the approval from the board to ratify for another 3 years. And we just weren't getting the feedback. So I talked to the Winona County attorney because their staff member that was on it, we hadn't been able to get in contact with. So I talked to her and she said, No, we're gonna, because they were actively doing like running a test version of what we were hoping to get. And they had run it for a while and they said, no, it's just not what we want to do. There's staff that were working with it hands-on. So it's just not what we wanted to do. And so they were getting RFPs for other software to see if there's better alternatives. So then I brought that up to Julie and we met with Andy and went out and said, okay, what other options do we have? And they had two different, Lens was a place that came in and did an in-person, no, it was a virtual presentation on their software. And Andy could get into it a little bit more why we didn't think that was a good fit for us. But then there was also a PBK, or Prosecutor by Carpel, that frankly has been around since the 80s. I mean, I've always seen him in different conferences over the years, but it was always like a software was used for a bigger law firm. And but from talking to their staff with Prosecutor by Carpel, it's a market they are starting to see where that they can also work their software with smaller law offices. So we had them come in and do a presentation, and it's what seemed really good. And then Andy was there, and of course Julie was there, and they seemed to think of the products, MCAPS, Carpel, Lens, that Prosecutor Carpel was the one to go with. Last week when I was gone to the annual County Attorney Association meeting, I talked to all the other electeds in the 3rd district that we're in. Olmsted County's had it for 2 years, and they're like, it's great. I thought Mauer County, I believe it's Mauer County, more. and all the time. And so anyway, the county attorney there indicated, and that was a perfect analogy, said it's like going from a pedal bike to a car. And when they came in, because I was curious because these agencies or businesses are selling a product. And I wanted to make sure that, we're just not getting sold something here. And so when I talked to the other persons, it seemed to be, they were like, yes, no, this is really the way to go. And what is driving this ultimately is it's a reaction to the court going to paperless. And because they went to paperless, then you'll see like the defense attorneys, public defenders, which we're doing 85% of our criminal cases with, they're going to this, and where their calendars all electronically populate. So like when we get a court hearing now from the court staff, Julie, Cindy, have to put it into our calendars. Whereas once we get these new programs, they will populate automatically. And it also keeps track of, it integrates us with law enforcement. It's something that it's what everybody else is going to, and it's something that frankly, we've been able to put off since 1998, but it's become a necessity now. And Andy can talk a little bit more about the numbers, or Julie can too, or if you have any questions, but that's why we had that abrupt turn off from August to today's date.
I mean, we looked at 2 different software packages. They're the most common within the state, I would say. I think we've got MCAPS, Lens, and Carpel. Comparing apples to apples is always impossible because everyone's got a little different spin on their stuff. But in my opinion, the Carpel product is far superior. And one of the issues we have with MCAPS is the ability to get stuff done. They're a small shop, they don't get stuff done, and we've been waiting, hanging on promises for years, and it's just not happening. And of course, that's no excuse when it comes to the courts. The courts don't care about our problems. So when looking at these things, looking at what integrates with the courts, what integrates with the systems, and what already is delivered versus what's not delivered or coming soon, Carpel it's a slam dunk. The other benefit, the maintenance contract with Carpel, albeit the upfront cost is a little bit more, the maintenance contract is half of what Lens would be. So it would be right on line with what we're paying with MCAPS. So we'd have this cash outlay, I want to say it's 46,000 and change to get on board. That would include transition, data migration, et cetera. Then the annual budget to it would be right in line with what's currently budgeted with MCAPS. I think it speaks volumes that a pilot county said, no, we're pulling the plug. And Carpel is, I believe, what they're moving to as well.
Yeah.
I know Fillmore County is going to Carpel. Olmsted County has Carpel. Looking at the product, it's just superior. It's not going to cost us anything in infrastructure. We'll be able to just go with it. It's kind of a slam dunk.
Well, and the other thing, I think, if I remember right, the ongoing costs, monthly costs or yearly costs are same or comparable to what MCAPS
Right.
is, and what I'm concerned about is that MCAPS, lack of a better, it's part of a co-op, and as members pull out, the price is gonna go nothing but up. And they're big, and we're just small fish in the sea here, but when these bigger ones like Olmsted County, Sherburne County, Washington County, when some of these bigger counties go, then that's gonna have to go up because there's just less, assuming it still exists. That's my concern, is the cost could go up.
So with regard to this Carpel deal. Is the information on there just ours, or do we share with Fillmore and?
It's just ours. However, the integration with the courts is what's going to make it share. So we live in our little world. We have our stuff, our data, all that jazz. But as the courts move things around, the connections between these different systems, the courts is what would dictate that.
By having the same as other counties
Would it be?
facilitate that?
No, not exactly. The courts uses, what are they, Tyler Technologies?
Yeah.
So they're a different system altogether, but Tyler Technologies is ridiculous expensive. So I mean, that's not even an option for us. So,
But that's a good question, because doesn't happen a lot, but every once in a while, we always have a couple of cases that are conflict cases for other counties, and we are totally separate from them now. But the hope would be maybe there is some way to share that back and forth, because it is quite problematic when we do have a conflict case. It just, you're going back to mailing things, and there's a lag on that. Whereas the data sharing, would be almost instantaneous. But that would be something, and hopefully in the future, that you could start sharing with these other counties and go away from what we have. But we're all the same.
46,000 to do the upgrade.
yeah, Sam and Carol know where the money's coming from.
We have the money, it's in the budget.
What Carol indicated to me is that the board has set aside money in case I needed an assistant, if our numbers would come back up. And that, my understanding of that money still exists, and I believe Carol indicated to me that would cover that money, or that the request for the upfront cost for the Carpel.
It's in the contract services line item of Sam's departmental budget. And there's 46,774 dollars.
So it's budget.
And just to know that, because we haven't actually needed to serve Winona County, that line item has been adjusted for the 2022 budget. So it's kind of a one-time upgrade their software.
Julie, given your reaction so far, you're the one that's working on this. You're in agreement with this as the system to go with.
Definitely. I mean, we vetted, we contacted, the users as well, the staff that are doing the same thing that we are, and their concerns were, the MCAPS product that they're working with that we're waiting for is very cumbersome. It's not efficient. It doesn't integrate with your calendaring feature. It doesn't integrate with there's a lot of pieces that they were promised that still haven't been delivered. It was originally supposed to be MCAPS 2020, and we're heading into 2023, and we still have no promises. So we spoke with several different counties that have been on it, and they absolutely love it. Like Sam said, it's night and day from the way MCAPS has been. So.
And what we have in front of you today is the ratification to amend a prior ratification to ask for a 1-year extension of the MCAPS contract, because Carpel is telling us there's so many people who want to get on board that they're taking a look at 1 year before they would be able to transition. I don't have the contract in front of you because, to be honest with you, I have it. I've reviewed it, but there are things in there that are very technical to computer stuff that I need to go through with Andy. And have him explain it to me what it means and then go from there. But we'll bring that back, but we would just want the approval to have the extension for 1 year and then we would bring the contract back for the board.
They
Any more
weren't actually
questions?
provided with the ratification
can-
statement, so we would have to give that to Allison if you want them to. There's several copies.
Any more questions?
Number 8 says we're considering approving purchase of the new case management software to replace MCAPs.
Yeah.
Doesn't say anything about extension, so. I mean, it's,
The situation with that is that it's gonna be a year transition. And right now, we have to keep MCAPs going. We can't stop.
Yeah,
and
no,
just
I
wait.
get,
right,
Yeah.
And I guess that's probably poorly worded on my part is we have to have the process to move forward to Carpel would be the extension for 1 year.
Somebody want to make a motion for to have an extension for 1 more year to go through the process?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
So what, we don't have a cost figure on the extension?
Not yet.
That I don't know.
No, we haven't gotten that yet from Mintrupsi.
but it's an extension of the existing contracts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So basically the same contract.
That would be
it
Yeah.
might be a little.
very.
But during the transition, we actually have 2 systems. It would be back going from here to the other one and.
The-
where it goes in, park out.
The amount of paralleling time would be probably minimal. But yes, I mean, Carpel has had a large uptick in new customers with this MCAPS toboggle. And so getting on their calendar to get deployment is.
Yes, the
It
mercy
is.
would make a big
Yeah.
Right.
They did say they could do it in 2023 though, so.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
just for clarification, is the motion to approve the purchase of the new system while also extending the old system?
Extending the contract. 1 year contract. Correct?
But Louise-
Yes, and I guess,
Is that what you,
I mean, because we kind of, I mean,
What we're talking about is just extending the MCAP contract.
if I could approach, I'll show you what I have a proposed ratification statement. Carol.
We ratified for 2 years, so we would have to cancel that ratification.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a 3-year ratification.
For 1 year.
Exactly. Not with the language in.
oh, if we're good for 2 years, what do we need to do any?
We need to be only good for 1 year.
Right.
Okay, so
We wanna try to-
change the terms of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Can you do that?
Yes, well,
No.
well, yes, what it is, they made an offer to extend our ratification of the prior agreement for 3 years. It had to be done by December 31. And then, so we did that in August. And so then everything else happened that I outlined here. And so we have provided them with written notice that we're coming to the board today and asking for this amended board ratification of the MCAPS agreement for 1 year. And told them the reason we're gonna do that, we're gonna go to prosecutor by Carpel.
Maybe we should do this 2 separate motions. Can we extend
That was my motion.
to amend the board ratification statement? That was your motion.
That was the-
All right. And we'll,
Carpel thing is something on another.
Okay, so we'll vote on amending this board ratification statement.
Yeah.
Correct?
Just so I'm understanding. Your motion and your second was to
Amend the
amend our contract with MCAPS. We reduce it to 1 year instead of the 2 years that are.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody got that clear and good? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hold, motion carried.
Thank you.
Carpel thing becoming.
Yes.
You need a,
we don't want a motion on, don't you want to do that
I
now?
think we need to do
I
both.
think we need to do.
motions today.
We should do that, we should do that today. So
Okay.
I make a we consider purchase of the new case management software to replace MCAPS. Carpel.
Prosecutor by Carpel.
prosecutor by Carpel.
Second.
Good.
You second it?
All right, Bob seconded that.
Multiple second.
All right, we got a motion and a second move forward on the new contract with this new company. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When do you want me to sign this?
If you want to do it now, I can give you a pen.
I got a pen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, I know, 10 o'clock.
For 11, quick.
Yeah, let's do number 11 real quick.
No, that'd be probably.
Consider approving our 2023 board meeting schedule. I think she handed one out to everybody.
Yeah, so the schedule was in the board packet, and after you approve it, it will go on the website. Just a few really quick things to note. July 4th this year is a Tuesday, so we are not gonna have a meeting that day. And then in December, it will be like this year, rather than having a work group session, we're gonna have 3 regular meetings. And that's because the AMC conference is typically the first week of December. And because it's the end of the year, we might need, all 3 meetings. You could always cancel
Just like
one
we did.
if you decided, just like this year. I did have Lynn and Donna both look at this and review it too, and I think Carol also. So it's been double checked. I believe it's correct, but if we needed to make an amendment next year, of course we could.
Everybody
Only
okay?
question I got is, has anybody ever approached anybody with regard to having an occasional evening board meeting? So that people that work.
They've done it before.
No one came.
It was,
It
wasn't any better attended.
We
Just
did
because they
have
ask
another-
about it doesn't mean they're coming.
Actually, a couple years, I think we had.
Yeah.
One of the meetings was that night and. Wasn't attended anymore, so. Actually, make it fun.
I just had a couple of people ask me, so I thought I'd question.
Would he just?
What we got?
Move to approve. Okay, we had a motion to approve our new schedule. We got a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Sounds like that's good. Now I guess we'll have to go into closed door.
Make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D.05. Subdivision 3 for end of probation review.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Do you something?
The board met in closed session pursuant to statute to review the performance of Martin Herrick's probationary review. The matter has been rescheduled for special meeting on Monday, the 19th at 3 p.m. No action taken.
Sounds good to me. All right, I guess, now we gotta go to discussion items. I really got much time to talk, I guess.
I have nothing to discuss.
All right. Since we're not gonna do any discussion, then somebody want to, closing public comment. Anybody got anything?
Reminder, we do have a virtual session with CDG Collaborative Design Group today, which is the kickoff for the spatialization study of the historic jail, not of the historic jail, of the historic courthouse.
Good catch.
The Justice Center and the Community Services Building. During that time, it'll be a brief meeting, but during that time, we'll be talking about the timeline and offering a schedule on Google Docs for department heads to pop in and sign up so that you can meet.
That's 1:30. And
That 1:30.
that be on Zoom here?
And it will be recorded. So for any department head wants to talk about it and share it with staff, or if you're not able to view it yourself at 1:30 today, you can watch it at your leisure.
Well, I was gonna come here, my internet.
And he's going to make sure it's set up in here.
Coming back up.
At 12:43. I made the motion to come out of closed session. Greg seconded it. Ordered unanimously come out of closed session. That's gave a synopsis of a summary of what we accomplished in the closed session, or talked about in the closed session. No action was taken after we came out of closed session. We have scheduled a special meeting for Monday, 19th. Right. At 3:00.
Okay, we'll post that today. I mean,
Donna's gonna post it on the website.
On the website already.
okay, and then I am supposed to write the summary, even though it's typically vague. In the minutes.
So the summary was that we had a discussion, we had interviews and. No, I mean, we're in closed session, you can't take action, so. Just had a discussion after. We had the-
The main reason why we went to Monday afternoon was for Teresa to be. Correct?
we had full board.
I don't have a full board.
I mean, it's usually supposed to be posted for 10 days, but we'll post it
This is
today.
special
Yeah.
because of the-
Okay,
They said 3 or 5 days, special.
emergency is 3. Special is,
This is emergency because his probation's up on the 20th.
okay, that's fine. We'll post it.
Post it and
Well, I better get home so I can get on Zoom.
Yeah, me too.
Was there a motion to
I
adjourn?
made the motion to adjourn.
Whoops, Andy, do you have some?
He's coming to make sure.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.